The forbidden jutsu of Iwagakure, or the village hidden in the stones, was a jutsu used by Deidara of the Akatsuki. This technique lets the user mold their chakra into materials, giving them the power to shape, control, and even change the size of objects, from super tiny to absolutely massive. Once the chakra is infused, the object can be used for different jutsu. Deidara stole this technique while searching for the ultimate art, and he mixed it with his explosion release Kekkei Genkai to create his signature explosive clay. Deidara also used this kinjutsu in his battle against Sasuke with his ultimate C0 technique, which basically uses one's own body as a bomb and is meant to be a last-ditch resort. Deidara shows off this stitched-up mouth on his chest, which he unseals to feed a big chunk of clay. Since the mouth is linked directly to his heart, it starts building up a ton of chakra while continuously pulling energy straight from the heart's meridians right up until detonation. His chakra then spreads through his veins, which then compress into a sphere that cracks open and eventually blows up, producing a deadly explosion covering a 10-kilometer blast radius. Sekkei, a fabrication created from the genetic material of white Zetsu, also got the nature transformation that grants him access to explosion release after being implanted with explosive clay, also allowing him to use this jutsu in a similar way. The mouths on Deidara's hands and chest are likely a result of using this forbidden jutsu, though Sekkei didn't have those. Earth Grudge Fear is a kinjutsu of Takigakure, or the village hidden in the waterfalls, and was stolen by Kakuzu of the Akatsuki before leaving the village. Earth Grudge Fear basically turns the user's body into something like a rag doll, held together by thick black threads. With it, Kakuzu could patch up any injuries on himself or others, and even reattach severed limbs with it. He could also separate parts of his own body, control them remotely, and put them back together when needed. But these threads weren't just for healing. They could also tear open his target's body, steal their organs, and merge them into his own to extend his life. Kakuzu usually used the technique to steal hearts, keeping up to 4 extra ones stored in masks on his back, which gave him access to different elemental jutsu including fire, lightning, water, and wind. He could even release these hearts from his body, letting them form massive thread-covered limbs or monstrous creatures with the masks as their faces. These masks could move and fight on their own, launching powerful elemental chakra attacks. If Kakuzu was killed, one of his spare hearts could jump back into his body and revive him, so you'd have to kill him at least 5 times in a fight to really take him down. One of his hearts was pierced by Kakashi's lightning cutter, the second was unintentionally destroyed by Hidan, and his remaining 3 hearts were destroyed by Naruto. With no usable heart left, Kakashi was able to finish him off. Techniques that can seriously harm the user are often considered forbidden, and the reverse Lotus is one of them. Rock Lee learned this technique from his mentor, Mike Guy, but it's meant to be used only as a last resort because of how dangerous it is. This move requires opening at least 3 of the 8 gates, which takes off the body's natural limits and pushes the user to insane speeds, and is a technique we'll be covering later. But the reverse Lotus comes with a big risk. The technique can exhaust the user to the point where they can hardly move, or even stay conscious afterwards. Once the gates are opened, the user becomes so fast it's hard to even see their movements, attacking the target from all sides and launching them into the air. When Rock Lee used this against Gaara, even Gaara's automatic sand shield couldn't keep up. Lee's attacks wrapped Gaara in his bandages, which allowed Rock Lee to position him for a final blow that sent him crashing into the ground. The sheer strength and speed of the reverse Lotus make it incredibly powerful, but if the enemy survives, the user is left completely vulnerable. And really quick, if you guys enjoy straight to the point anime explained content like this, without any fluffy intros or stuff like that, then make sure to subscribe and turn those notifications on, because we post all kinds of videos just like this talking about various anime topics every 5 days, so we'll definitely have you covered. But anyway, Orochimaru's Cursed Seals of Heaven and Earth is a more twisted version of an existing jutsu. What makes his Cursed Seal special is that it has Jugo cells in it. Jugo has the ability to absorb natural energy and transform his body for battle. Orochimaru experimented with this ability to create different versions of the Cursed Seal. The most complete versions were the Cursed Seals of Heaven and the Cursed Seals of Earth. The Cursed Seal of Heaven gives the user a massive chakra boost, likely powered by senjutsu, or natural energy, and enhances their physical abilities. Orochimaru gave Sasuke this very seal during the second phase of the Chunin exams, and when Sasuke activates its second level, he was as strong as Naruto's one-tailed form. Anko also had this seal when she was Orochimaru's student, and he briefly reactivated it when they fought in the Forest of Death before Hiruzen sealed it again. The Cursed Seal of Earth which was given to Kimimaro, boosted his chakra, physical strength, and ninjutsu. At the second level, he could even merge with his own bone blades, letting him launch surprise attacks from his enemies' blind spots, and his healing improved, with torn flesh instantly regenerating when he transformed. MultiShadow Clone Jutsu is a powerful jutsu created by Tobirama Senju from the Leaf Village. It's basically a supercharged version of the regular Shadow Clone Jutsu, but instead of making just a few clones, the user can pump out hundreds or even thousands. While it's really strong, it also drains a ton of chakra, so it's not safe for most shinobi. Because of that, the first Hokage made it forbidden, and hid it away in the Scroll of Seals. Naruto, however, is one of the few who can handle it because of his insane chakra reserves. Most people can only make up to 5 clones with regular jutsu, but Naruto can make dozens, hundreds, or even 1,000 at once. While smaller groups of clones are useful for all kinds of tasks, Naruto's huge clone army is mostly used for overwhelming his enemies in battle. He also uses it to speed up his training, like when he mastered the wind release Rasengan way faster than normal. This is possible because each clone is capable of independently learning, so all the combined experience of the clones expedited his training. By the time Naruto became Hokage, he was using this technique on a massive scale, helping him handle a bunch of tasks around the village at the same time. Mutually multiplying explosive tags is another deadly jutsu invented by Tobirama Senju. It's a terrifying technique that's usually paired with Edo Tensei, the Reanimation jutsu, which we'll also be talking about in a bit. This jutsu is designed for those brought back to life with Edo Tensei, using special explosive tags to create an endless chain of explosions. The reincarnated individual's body acts as a medium for the paper, which explodes and creates even more tags in the process. So it basically turns their bodies into paper bombs that keep on detonating nearly infinitely due to the regenerative property of Edo Tensei. This leads to a continuous loop of explosions, which can be nearly impossible to escape. Although live individuals can use this technique, it's incredibly dangerous and usually results in sacrificing their own life, which is why it's classified as forbidden. The Rasen Shuriken is one of Naruto's signature moves, which he developed on his own with help from Kakashi. It's an upgrade of the Rasengan, adding wind release to it to make it more powerful. When Naruto first started using it, the Rasen Shuriken caused serious damage to both his enemy and his own arm, leading Tsunade to warn him not to use it again. But Naruto eventually found a way around this by adding Sage Chakra that allows him to throw it as a projectile, which kept him from hurting himself. Once thrown, the Rasen Shuriken can expand to hit dodging targets. When Naruto uses his Nine Tails Chakra mode, he can guide it with his chakra arms from a safe distance. He's also able to modify the Rasen Shuriken in different ways, like making multiple ones at once, or changing its size. Instead of having a Rasengan at the core, he can sometimes use tailed beast balls or truth-seeking orbs for an even more devastating explosion. Plus he can apply other nature transformations to it, like he does with the super tailed beast Rasen Shuriken. The Twin Snake Mutual Death Jutsu is a technique taught to Anko by Orochimaru back when she was a student. It's basically a double suicide move. The user grabs the target's hand and forces them to help perform the hand seals. Once that's done, both the user and the target are supposed to die. When Anko tries using it on Orochimaru, she stabs his hand to hers, so he can't escape while she starts the hand seals. But it turns out, Orochimaru was using a shadow clone, and Anko stops the jutsu just in time before she ends up killing herself. We never actually see the jutsu work in the series, but in the official guidebook, it's shown as 2 snakes wrapping around the user and the target, biting each other's necks before detonating. One's Own Life Reincarnation is a jutsu created by the Puppet Brigade in Sunagakure, and allows the user to give life to others by using one's own life force. Originally, it was meant to bring puppets to life to make them better in battle. The user channels all of their chakra as a medium, and transfers their life force to the target. It can be used on both the living and the dead, but with different outcomes. If used on someone who's still alive, it can heal them from a fatal injury, although it leaves the user completely drained. If used on the dead, the user will die in exchange for reviving the other person. Chiyo from the Hidden Sand Village is the only person we've seen use this technique. She brought Gaara back to life after the Akatsuki killed him by extracting the one-tailed Shikaku from him. Feeling guilty for sealing Shikaku inside Gaara in the first place, Chiyo used this technique to atone. However, she didn't have enough life force to fully revive him on her own, so then Naruto stepped in and lent her his chakra, allowing her to save Gaara, though it cost Chiyo her life. Since Chiyo was the only known user of this technique, it's believed to have been lost when she died. Strength of 100 Seal is a powerful jutsu that dates back to Hagoromo's era, and both Tsunade and Sakura are well known for using it. The technique allows medical ninjas to store chakra in one spot over a long period of time, and then unleash it all at once when needed, but it's tough to pull off, because it requires extremely precise chakra control to build up and store that much chakra. Typically, the chakra is stored in a specific point on the body, usually the forehead, forming a rhombus-shaped seal. Sakura took about 3 years to store enough chakra to create her own seal, which was impressive considering how hard it is to master. Once released, the seal spreads across the user's face or wraps around their body, pumping the stored chakra into them and boosting their power significantly. The seal stays permanently on their foreheads, allowing them to use its effects whenever they need. It's also linked to Lady Katsuyo, the giant slug summon, allowing the user to perform mass healing or communicate with the slug over long distances. The strength of Katsuyu's abilities directly depends on how much chakra is stored in the seal. Tsunade and Sakura use this stored chakra with the Byakuyo no Jutsu, or Creation Rebirth, which heals their injuries automatically with no hand signs needed. The seal also amps up their physical strength, as seen when Sakura took on the Ten Tails clones during the war. Tsunade also taps into the seal's chakra to maintain her youthful appearance. Fury is an anime-exclusive technique, so powerful it can create a massive explosion big enough to wipe out an entire village. It was created by En no Gyoja, and his granddaughter Hotaru had the technique implanted on her back. To activate the technique, the user first has to gather a ton of chakra using the Tsuchigumo style Forbidden Life technique release, Creation of Heaven and Earth. Because of how destructive it could be, the third Hokage labeled it as a forbidden technique to protect the village, of course. Even though Fury is insanely powerful, Utakata managed to absorb all its power and destroy it by using his tailed beast mode. To keep everyone safe after Fury was declared a kinjutsu, the third Hokage and En no Gyoja agreed on a treaty that Konoha would help the Tsuchigumo clan in times of need. Living Corpse Reanimation is a kinjutsu created by Orochimaru to transfer his soul into someone else's body, making him essentially immortal. The idea is that he moves into a new, stronger body before his current one starts to break down. By doing this every few years, he can keep living as long as he keeps finding suitable hosts. Orochimaru can only use this technique once every 3 years. As his time in a host body nears the end of the 3 years, the body starts rejecting him and he has to switch to a new one. But if he found the perfect host, he could theoretically stay in the body for a lifetime. This explains why he was so focused on preparing Sasuke and Kimimaro as potential hosts. When Orochimaru is ready to perform the transfer, he sheds his current body to reveal its true form, a huge white snake made up of smaller snakes. He then swallows the new host and takes them to a mental plane, where he essentially overtakes their mind. The snake body dies, and Orochimaru's soul takes over the new body. The souls of the previous hosts remain inside of him, still alive in a way, but suppressed. These souls can potentially resurface if Orochimaru's chakra gets too low, as seen when Sasuke used up most of his chakra, and Orochimaru almost reappeared using the 8 branches technique. Once he's in a new body, Orochimaru modifies it to align with his snake-like abilities, letting him stretch, heal quickly, and even reconnect severed body parts. This lets him survive longer if he can't find a new host right away. After Sasuke revived him using the evil releasing method, which involved Kabuto's modified flesh, Orochimaru bypassed the usual process and transferred himself into a white Zetsu clone. Izanami is one of the most powerful and forbidden jutsu in Uchiha history, and using it comes with a huge price. You lose the sight in one of your eyes forever. It's a genjutsu that traps the target in a loop, making them relive the same moments over and over again. The trick is that this loop is based on shared physical sensations between the user and the target. Itachi Uchiha used Izanami during his fight with Kabuto in the 4th Great Ninja War. Once the jutsu is activated, the target is stuck in the loop, replaying the same events in their mind. Even if they realize what's happening, they can't escape it by trying to act differently because the illusion adapts to their changes and keeps them stuck. The only way out of this infinite loop is for the target to accept the reality of their actions and come to terms with their fate. It's a harsh jutsu that forces the target to face their choices and learn from them, otherwise they're trapped forever. Izanagi, another dojutsu from the Uchiha clan, is the counterpart to Izanami, but with a totally different purpose. Instead of trapping the target in a loop, Izanagi lets the user rewrite reality itself, allowing them to turn illusions into reality. Most Uchiha use this technique to survive fatal injuries, or even death, basically undoing the injury by turning it into an illusion, and replacing it with a non-injured version of themselves. But like Izanami, using Izanagi comes with the cost of permanently losing sight in the Sharingan eye used to perform it. Madara Uchiha used Izanagi to undo his death after his fight with Hashirama, having sealed a time-activated Izanagi in his right eye. This revived him and swapped his real body with a shadow clone. Since Uchiha only have half of the sage's chakra, they can usually only keep Izanagi going for a few seconds. Danzo, who had both Uchiha and Senju DNA implanted in him, could use Izanagi for 1 minute. He also had 10 Sharingan implanted in his right arm, letting him stretch out this technique for up to 10 minutes. However, since he wasn't an Uchiha, each use of Izanagi drained a lot of his chakra. Obito Uchiha, with better control over his Senju cells, could maintain Izanagi for much longer. Izanami was actually created as a way to counter and punish those who would abuse Izanagi. The Reaper Death Seal is a powerful but deadly jutsu created by the Uzumaki clan that calls upon Shinigami, or the Death God, to completely seal away a target's soul. The caster also loses their soul in the process, making it a serious last resort. Minato Namikaze first used it during Obito's attack on the Leaf Village, sealing half of the Nine Tails inside of him. Hiruzen Sarutobi also used it during Orochimaru's invasion to seal away Orochimaru's arms and stop him from using jutsu ever again. Once the summoner finishes the hand seals, the Shinigami shows up and creates a curse seal that gives the summoner the power to trap the target's soul. The Shinigami's hands comes out of the summoner's body and grabs the target's soul, freezing them in place and canceling any jutsu they're using. With the target immobilized, the summoner can pull out and seal their soul, but the target's soul ends up locked inside the summoner's body. Once it's done, the Shinigami slowly devours the summoner's soul, leading to their death. Neither the summoner nor the target's soul moves on to the afterlife. Instead, they're trapped in the Shinigami's stomach forever, battling each other for eternity. The only way to free a soul from the Shinigami is by using the Reaper Death Seal release. For this, someone has to wear the Shinigami mask, which causes them to be possessed by the Shinigami. If they cut their stomach open, the Shinigami does the same, freeing any souls trapped inside. However, there's a downside. The mask doesn't protect the user from dying from their own injury. When Orochimaru used this to restore his arms, he survived by switching bodies. After releasing the other souls, Orochimaru was even able to perform the Reanimation Jutsu. The 8 inner gates are chakra points along the body's chakra pathway system that act as limiters. These gates are there to prevent people from using too much chakra and damaging their own bodies. But with the right training, a person can learn to unlock or open the gates. Each gate they open allows more chakra to flow through them, boosting their strength and speed. However, opening the gates comes with a price. It takes a big toll on the body, and even the first few gates can cause fatigue or injury. In the worst case, like opening the final gate, the user dies because their body can't handle the immense chakra flowing through them. Only a few people in the series have been able to open all 8 gates. Might Dai spent 20 years training to master them, and he passed on a strict rule onto his son Guy to only open the gates when protecting someone important enough to risk your own life. Guy then passed on this rule onto his own student Rock Lee. Dai sacrificed himself by opening the 8th gate, known as the Gate of Death, to save Guy from the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist. This gate is located in the heart, and to open it, users puncture their chest with their thumb to force chakra there. Once opened, their hearts pump at maximum capacity, to give them power 100 times greater than their usual strength, which is even stronger than the 5 Kage combined. But of course, it's a deadly power. Eventually, the user's body heats up so much that they burn from the inside out, and eventually completely turn to ash. Guy used the 8th gates during his fight against Madara, who had just gained 6 past power and became seemingly unbeatable, but Guy nearly killed him by unlocking his final gate, and accessing high-level taijutsu like the Evening Elephant and Night Guy. Luckily for Madara, his body succumbs to the overwhelming power of the 8 gates before he could finish him off. Naruto later saves Guy from death with Yin Yang release, but the loss of his leg and the damage to his body leave him in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. As for Rock Lee, he also mastered all 8 gates by adulthood. The Impure World Reincarnation, aka Edo Tensei, is a forbidden technique that brings the dead back to life. It was originally created by Tobirama Senju, but he never fully completed it. Orochimaru later found the jutsu and improved it, while Kabuto nearly perfected it. To perform this jutsu, the user needs some DNA from the person they want to bring back, which they smear on a special scroll. The soul of the dead person also needs to be in the Pure Land, and a living sacrifice is required as the vessel for the reincarnated soul. Once the jutsu is activated, the sacrifice's body gets covered in dust and ash, transforming them into the person being revived. The process is painful for the sacrifice, and although they're still technically alive, their body is no longer their own. Once the reincarnated soul is released, the sacrifice automatically dies. Reincarnated individuals can be summoned in two ways. They can either travel to the location on foot, or be brought in via coffins that appear wherever needed. When first summoned, they look a little decayed, but the summoner can restore their appearance and plant a control talisman to give them full command over the reincarnated soul. The revived person keeps all their powers, including Kekkei Genkai, but some limitations do exist, like with Madara, who couldn't fully use his abilities after being reincarnated. The summoner can control how much free will the reincarnated person has. At the highest level of control, their personality is wiped out completely, pretty much acting like puppets. Orochimaru likes to use this full control, while Kabuto sometimes switches to it when needed. One of the biggest advantages of this jutsu is that it makes the revived person immortal. They can regenerate from any damage and keep fighting even while they're healing. Tobirama originally designed the technique for kamikaze-like attacks, and he even made the mutually multiplying explosive tags technique for this purpose. Killing the summoner won't stop the jutsu, but there are 3 ways to end it: removing the reincarnated soul using the Reaper Death Seal, having the summoner stop it, or allowing the reincarnated person to gain closure and freeing themselves from the jutsu's control. Renee Rebirth is a super powerful and forbidden jutsu that can only be used by someone with the Rinnegan. It's accessed through the outer path, which is the 7th and final path of pain. What makes this jutsu so formidable is that it lets the users bring the dead back to life, but not like Edo Tensei, where they get revived as controlled reanimations, but instead actual living humans with full control over themselves. But there's a catch. The user has to give up their own life in exchange for bringing someone else back. When the jutsu is activated, the King of Hell appears, and releases the souls of the dead from his mouth, even pulling them back from the brink of the afterlife. These souls are then returned to their bodies, which are fully healed. We don't know all the limits of this technique, but Pain aka Nagato was able to use it to bring back hundreds of people at once, during his attack on Konoha. The revived people seem to come back with full energy. Later, during the 4th Great Ninja War, Obito used Renee Rebirth to completely revive Madara, who was previously reincarnated through Edo Tensei. Obito survives the technique temporarily, thanks to Black Zetsu attaching to him. Naruto also helped stabilize Obito's life for a short time using a 6th Pass Yang power, but Obito dies eventually. Well, that does it for every forbidden jutsu in Naruto, or at least most of them. It was actually kind of hard to find some of these, so let me know in the comments below if I missed one, or just give us your general thoughts about the list we gave you today. We want to continue creating more Naruto content on this channel, so make sure to drop some topics in the comments below as well. In the meantime though, click the video you see on your screen right now to learn about every dojutsu in Naruto, and we'll see you there.